Welcome to our guide about using explanatory variables in C#. Are you tired of trying to decipher dense and confusing code? Do you want to take your programming skills to the next level? Look no further, because in this video, we'll be introducing the concept of intermediate variables, also known as explanatory variables. By breaking down complex code into smaller, more manageable chunks, you'll be able to write clean, efficient, and easy-to-read code like a pro. So sit back, relax, and let's get on step further on our journey towards becoming a C# clean code master. Using explanatory variables is a good practice for C# developers because it can improve the readability and understandability of the code. By breaking the code up into intermediate values that are held in variables with meaningful names, you can clearly convey the purpose and intent of the code to other developers who may need to work with it in the future. First, look at the bad example. This code reads in the contents of a file called file.txt and stores it in a string called file content. It then counts the number of lines, words, and characters in file content and stores the values in the variables line count, word count, and character count, respectively. It may be hard to read because it does not use any intermediate variables. This means that all the processing is done in a single line of code, which can make it harder to understand what is happening. Additionally, the code uses the split method and the length property, which may not be immediately clear to someone who is not familiar with them. In the improved example, intermediate variables lines and words are introduced to hold the result of the split operations. These variables have meaningful names that help to convey the purpose of the variables and improve the readability and understandability of the code. This makes it easier to understand what the code is doing and reduces the risk of errors or misunderstandings. Explanatory variables can greatly improve the readability and understandability of your code and is an important best practice for C# developers to follow. By using meaningful names for your variables, you can make your code easier to read and understand, which can help to reduce the risk of bugs and maintenance issues. Using explanatory variables and also intermediate variables can greatly improve the readability and understandability of code in C#. By breaking complex code into smaller, more manageable chunks, you can clearly convey the purpose and intent of the code to other developers who may need to work with it in the future. By introducing variables with meaningful names, you can make it easier to understand what the code is doing and reduce the risk of errors or misunderstandings. This is especially important when working on large projects with multiple developers, as it can help to prevent bugs and make maintenance and updates easier. Overall, using explanatory variables is an important best practice for C# developers to follow in order to write clean, efficient, and easy-to-read code.